Hey everybody, what's going on? So, Subaru has just revealed their pricing for the next generation 2022 BRZ that will be hitting dealerships this fall. And the big news is that the pricing falls just about where we expected it to, with the base model BRZ coming in well under $30,000. And I'm looking here at the Subaru press release announcing the pricing for the BRZ, and I'm just going to talk about the highlights. Now, one of the major bullet points here in their press release is that the starting price is at $27,995 US. And, that's just under $28,000, which sounds fantastic. As they had promised, it was going to be under 30K, and they met that target. Now, there are some caveats to that, of course, and I'm going to explain that right now. Let me scroll down here to where they have this chart, and you'll see that there are obviously going to be two different trim levels for the BRZ, the Premium and the Limited. That's always been the case since the BRZ launched. And then, of course, you have a choice of manual transmission or automatic transmission. And so they have different prices accordingly. Now, what they didn't mention in that top bullet point, of course, was that there is a destination and delivery charge added on top of the MSRP price that they had indicated. And in this instance, the destination and delivery charge is $960. That's almost $1,000 for destination and delivery. Now, that's an added cost that you're not going to be able to avoid, basically. So you pretty much have to add that to the price of the car that you're paying. And so this last column here in the chart shows you what the actual price, what the actual cost will be when you purchase one of these cars. And so the base model, the BRZ Premium with the manual transmission, with the destination and delivery charge, it's going to be $28,955. Now, again, that's not terrible. That's well under the $30,000 expectation that I think we all had, that I had predicted in my prior videos when they had first unveiled the new next generation BRZ. And so I think it's a pleasant surprise to see that it's over $1,000 less than $30,000. So that's a good thing. But as you can see, if you were to add the automatic transmission, that's going to be another $1,500 or so, and then even more money if you want to upgrade to the limited package. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, about what you get with the limited package. But as you can see, it's a substantial chunk of money. It's going to be another $2,500 in order to get the limited package. And we'll talk a little bit later about whether or not I think that's worth it. In my mind, it's still one of the most affordable sports cars that you can buy today. Now, looking at the press release from Subaru, in addition to the pricing information, they also provided some other summary documents that talk about some of the features to expect with the new second generation BRZ. And some of these features I've already talked about in my previous videos, so I'm not going to repeat everything that I've said before. If you really want an in-depth look at everything there is to know about the Subaru BRZ, you can go back to some of my previous videos to catch some of that content as well. And I'll put links to that in the description below. But I did want to at least touch on a few different highlights that caught my eye as I read through this summary from the press release. One of the things that they mentioned was that the car has a new aluminum roof panel and front fenders, so those are new for the 2022 model. The previous generation BRZ only had an aluminum front engine hood, but they've taken some additional steps now to reduce the curb weight as much as possible. Of course, having to counter the weight gain that comes with, new technologies and new equipment that the new BRZ is going to come with. So what they've noted though is that the base curb weight of the new BRZ is 2,815 pounds, which is only a few more pounds than the previous generation. So I think that that's quite an achievement in and of itself. Very admirable of them to keep the weight down. So I'm happy about that. They also mentioned that there's the all-new customizable 7-inch digital instrument panel. That's kind of a neat new feature that they've focused on in some of their photos and some of the early previews that we've seen of the car show off that new instrument panel, which looks really neat. And I'm looking forward to checking that out in person when the car is sitting on dealership lots and available for us to take a look. One of the additional features that they've added to the second generation BRZ are these additional safety features. So for instance, the limited trim also includes standard blind spot detection with lane change assist and rear cross traffic alert. So those are pretty fancy features to have on what I always thought of as a more basic sports car. It seems like pretty much all cars are coming with these kinds of features now, so I guess that's technology for you. One of the items that Subaru mentions in their press release is that new for 2022, the standard tire pressure monitoring system, TPMS, now allows 2 sets of wheels to be ID registered. That's a really cool feature because that means that in addition to, for instance, your stock wheels, you can add an aftermarket set of wheels and tires to the car and have 2 different sets of TPMS on there and not have to, choose one or the other, which is what I kind of have to do right now with the first generation BRZ. So I think that's a really cool feature to include on the new generation car. Now there's another feature here that I'm not as thrilled about, and that's the active sound control, which they say enhances the engine sound within the cabin for a more engaging driving experience. Now, to me, that sounds like fake noise generators that, come out of a speaker, and, I know cars like BMWs offer this kind of feature, but to me, that just sounds like they're essentially admitting that the car or the engine sounds pretty crappy on its own, and they need to enhance it in some way using some artificial sound generators, using speakers within the cabin. That doesn't bode well to me, but I guess unfortunately that's happening with more and more new cars nowadays. But I guess I'm curious to see just how bad the car might sound without the sound control enhancements, and hopefully it's something that we can turn off and try both with and without that enhancement. But maybe it won't be that intrusive, or maybe it'll be annoying as hell. So we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. Another feature that they added to the new car that I find a little weird is a power fuel door lock. I'm not sure why they decided that was necessary. I thought it worked just fine having a manual fuel door release inside the car. You just pull on the hatch just like many other cars have in the past, and it opens up your fuel cap. But now it seems like they've added a power feature, which to me seems to add weight and complexity. I assume it'll just work kind of like the way that the push button release works for the rear trunk. You hold the button down for a second or so and it pops open, your fuel door, I guess. But why? I don't see the point of that. That just seems like something unnecessary. But I guess we don't really have much say in that. That seems to be a standard feature that they've added to the new BRZ. Of course, the standard BRZ will come with the 6-speed manual transmission, which I enjoy shifting quite a bit with my 2016 BRZ, and I'm guessing that that will not change with the new BRZ. However, as before, they do offer a 6-speed electronic direct control automatic transmission, and that will come with paddle shifters on the steering wheel. So if you are not into rowing your own gears, that system is still going to be available to you. I personally, of course, would still choose the manual transmission. However, I guess there are some advantages to choosing the automatic. As highlighted here, if you do choose the automatic, you do get some additional driver assistance technology. You get eyesight and adaptive cruise control, pre-collision braking system, lane departure and sway warning, and lead vehicle start alert. I don't know exactly what that is. And it says the automatic transmission also adds high beam assist. So, if you're into those kinds of bells and whistles, at least you're getting a few more technology frills with your money, because you are paying a significant premium, I guess, for the automatic. I think it's about $1,600 to $1,800. Yeah, so here you can see, the price difference between the manual transmission and the automatic transmission. Now, one thing I noticed in the Subaru press release and the pricing information is that there's no mention at all about offering a performance package. The 2020 Subaru BRZ offered a performance package that includes upgraded Brembo brakes and rotors, as well as some upgraded dampers for better performance in braking and handling. Now, one would presume that they would continue to offer that kind of performance package upgrade for the next generation BRZ, but as of this press release, there's no mention at all of that option. So we'll have to wait and see whether that's something that they just didn't give us the details on yet, or perhaps they won't be available on the launch edition of this second generation car and could be added at a later date. We'll just have to wait and see on that. But if they do offer the performance package with the similar kind of features, on the 2020 car, those would be about a $1,200 option. But I think generally people would find that it was well worth it for the better brakes and the better suspension, especially if you're going to take the car to the track. So if it is available on the second generation BRZ, I think I would recommend that you check that box and get that added to your car as well. Alright, so let's talk about the limited package on the BRZ and whether or not I think that that's worth the additional money. As I had mentioned before, we're talking about a $2,500 package. That's the price difference between buying the BRZ in the premium trim and the limited trim. In this Subaru press release, they indicate the additional equipment that you would get over the premium model when you go for the limited trim, and we'll go through some of these right now. I think one of the first things that would be noticeable is that you're getting 18-inch alloy wheels in a matte gray finish. So I believe if I scroll back up here, the standard wheels are 17-inch by 7.5-inch aluminum alloy wheels in a dark gray finish. And if you get the limited package, you get a matte gray finish. So I know some people would prefer a lighter colored wheel versus the darker colored one that seems to be standard and is what we saw in some of the early shots of the second generation BRZ. But is that worth the money? Well, that's going to be up to you, because that's just purely aesthetic. But in terms of the wheels, the sizing, yes, you're going to get 18-inch wheels, which to many people may look a little bit better than 17-inch wheels. But what I would note is that you're not really getting wider wheels in this instance. We can look at the specs here for the BRZ, and you can see right here, although you're getting 1 inch larger in diameter, you're not getting wider wheels with the limited package. You are still going to have 7.5 inch wide wheels, and in fact you're not going to get any wider tires either. The 18-inch wheels will just have the same 215 tread width. Now you are getting the better Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires, which will give you better grip. But honestly, if you're serious about upgrading your car's handling and performance, you're probably going to want to get a wider set of wheels and tires to fully maximize the potential of the car. And again, that's what I did with my car. With my 2016, I added 17-inch by 9-inch wide wheels, and the 9-inch wheels allow me to run a 245 width tire, and that just gives me significantly more grip. Not to mention, I chose a stickier compound, so that will give me better performance overall. Now, something of note here that I just saw in this spec sheet, it seems to indicate that you're going to have a tire repair kit included with these tires. Does that mean that there's no spare tire included with the car? It may be that. I know in the past some other cars, the Mazda RX-8 seems to come to mind as one of these cars where, for whatever reason, they decided to maybe save some weight by not including a spare tire with the car, and what they just did was throw in a can of Fix-A-Flat essentially into the trunk. And so that to me is what this sounds like when they say tire repair kit. I don't know what else that could mean. So I'm curious whether that was meant to be some sort of weight savings shortcut on Subaru's part to say, hey, well, you know, we can shave a few pounds from the car even though it gained some weight from other things by not including a spare tire, and we'll just throw in this Fix-A-Flat, you know, this can of Fix-A-Flat, and call it a tire repair kit. And, you know, that's only going to be, you know, maybe a pound or two, so we're going to save some weight that way. It's kind of interesting. Going back to our list of additional features that you get when you go to the limited trim, it looks like you're going to get some of these safety features that we had talked about, blind spot detection with lane change assist and rear cross traffic alert. Now, you know, these are useful things to have for sure. They're just going to make the car a safer car to drive for everyday purposes. But in terms of a sports car and, you know, in my mind, what might be my next track car, I'm not sure that I necessarily need these kinds of features. Steering responsive headlights, well, I mean, that's a nice feature to have as well. I have those on my Lexus. Never really thought that I needed something like that for my Subaru though. So again, nice to have, not necessarily a need or even a want in my situation. Another feature that comes with the limited trim is upgraded upholstery. So your interior is going to look a little nicer with some leather and suede. That was also available with the limited trim in the first generation, so nothing terribly new there. But I think you can expect a bit more of an upscale look if you opt for the limited trim. Now this next one's kind of odd. I had to look this up because I had no idea what it meant. Brinaub accents on instrument panel visor and door trim. That sounds fancy, but I also don't know what it meant until I had to look it up. Now, as it turns out, Brinaub is a fabric material made by this Japanese company, and it, I guess, as far as I can tell, resembles suede. So I guess it's just maybe a branded version of suede that is maybe similar to Alcantara as sort of a branded product that offers you the look and feel of suede with maybe some improvements in their characteristics so that it's better suited for automotive interiors. So I'm curious to see what that looks and feels like when it's used in the new BRZ, but what a weird name though. Who picked that? And the limited trim also adds a few other nice features like illuminated vanity mirrors, heated front seats, door courtesy lights. Yeah, these are minor things that I don't think are a big deal and not necessarily something that I would want on my car. They're just sort of pseudo luxury features that they've added to make it seem like the limited trim is the one that you want to have. Interestingly, I noticed there's no mention of, say, the HomeLink mirror or the auto-dimming mirror. Those are features that I think were offered on the previous generation BRZ, and I could see those being useful sort of luxury type features that are practical. You know, you want to be able to auto dim your mirrors, and you want to be able to use HomeLink to control your garage door when you come home. And who knows, maybe those will be just offered as standalone options that you can just add at the dealership. But I guess the question comes down to, would I get the limited trim for an additional $2,500? Probably not. I don't think that it's worth it for me. And that's why with my previous two BRZs that I purchased, my 2013 and then my 2016, both times I chose to buy the premium model and not the limited, because I didn't think that the additional features that came with the limited were worth the money. And you know, the 18-inch wheels, while they're gonna look pretty nice, I definitely think that you're gonna be able to do better by choosing your own aftermarket solution. You know, pick out a set of 18-inch wheels that you like. Most likely you're gonna be able to find a set that is wider in width and therefore allows you to run a wider tire. That's what I would do. So, you know, what's the point of paying, you know, $2,500, which largely in part goes towards these larger wheels, when you're actually going to plan to replace those wheels anyways? So I say, save your money, use that $2,500 towards a nice set of wheels and tires. The other major reason for considering the limited trim would be for the interior. I would even point out that at that time, with the 2013 and the 2016, the premium model didn't even come with the nicer climate control dials. The 2022 model seems to come with the upgraded climate controls across the board. I think whether you get the premium or the limited model, you're going to get the same nicer looking climate controls. But even though I had to go for the sort of cheaper looking climate controls in the 2016 and the 2013 models, I still went for the premium just because I didn't think it was going to be worth shelling out that additional money for these sort of minor aesthetic differences. But, you know, you might feel differently, and if interior quality is important to you, you might be willing to spend some additional money for that. And I can't fault you for that. So, going back to the pricing list, bottom line, it looks like the base model BRZ Premium is going to be available for about $29,000. And if you want to add the automatic transmission, it's going to bump you up a little bit over $30,000. That's the play I would make. The premium model is the way to go in my mind. I don't think that it's worth the extra $2,500 to get the limited. Now, what could change that equation is if the performance package is only going to be available on the limited trim, which I think is the case for the first generation BRZs. You had to buy the limited trim in order to then also add on the performance package. Well, then I guess I would have to reconsider it and say, okay, do I really want the bigger brake kit and the upgraded suspension in order to get the performance package? I gotta pay that price premium, and that's gonna be a tough pill to swallow, but maybe that's the way to go. But if they don't offer the performance package at launch, then I definitely think the premium is the better choice. Just save your money and apply it towards your own aftermarket mods. You can add your own wheels, add your own big brake kit, do it all for less money. Once again, the other question is going to be, well, what about Toyota? What's Toyota going to do about their pricing? Now that the Subaru price list has been published, I expect that Toyota will reveal their prices as well fairly soon. And I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. Now, historically, Toyota has priced their 86 just a little bit less than the Subaru. The Subaru has always offered a little bit more content, a few more fancy luxury type options or amenities that weren't necessarily available other than in some of the special edition Toyota models. But we'll have to see whether or not that continues to be the case with the new GR86. I can see how the GR86 might be positioned as a more performance-oriented car. Will that mean that it will have fewer luxury options, but maybe offer something more along the lines of the performance package in terms of, performance credentials for the GR86 to say, okay, if you want the upgraded Brembo brakes and maybe upgraded suspension, you're going to have to get the GR86. And maybe you can get it available on the Subaru BRZ later on, but it may be available at launch with the Toyota GR86. I guess there's just a lot of different ways they could go with this. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I personally still prefer the look of the GR86 over the styling of the BRZ for this second generation car. I think the GR86 is really growing on me. But of course, we still have to wait and see what happens with the pricing coming from Toyota. So until then, I'm still gonna give the BRZ some consideration. And of course, I have to see these cars in person to truly make up my mind, I think. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this entertaining or exciting to learn about the next generation of BRZ and 86 to come. Lots of exciting things from the aftermarket on the horizon as well. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and take care of yourselves. Peace out.